Hello guys, and welcome to the very first Q&A for the things that move us. So I'm trying to be a little creative here, considering that we're no longer allowed to have guests. I've pre-recorded a lot of my podcasts, so now I'm trying to figure out the whole Skype/Zoom thing. So I thought, why not try some Q&A and get some feedback from the guys that follow, maybe some insight into the automotive industry. And that's exactly what we have here today. So we have a couple of good questions here. A few about, insights on automotive tuning and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to get right into it. So the first one that we have is from, and this is actually a very, very interesting one. It's what's the most valuable thing you've learned from working at dealerships? And that is from Limitless Wraps. So shout out to Limitless Wraps. So the most valuable thing I've learned from working at dealerships is the financial aspect. So that would essentially mean buying, selling, maintaining, when to buy, when not to buy. And I can go into a lot of that, but I'll leave it at the Coles Notes. So for example, I myself would never do a 96-month finance. For me, my max would be 4 years. So 48 months, and I'll try and pay it off ahead of time, just because for me to pay $500 or $600 for a car 6.5 years later, just picture a car that's 6.5 years old or 6 years old, and you're paying $500, $600 for it a month. It doesn't really make financial sense. That, or something goes wrong. You have, for example, 4 years down the line, you're out of warranty. You either have to fix it, which means sinking money into it, or get rid of it at a reduced price, and you still have another 3 years left on financing. So what you owe will not cover what it's worth. And even if there's nothing wrong with the vehicle, what you owe most likely won't cover what it's worth. So, financial kind of, the financial aspect of working at dealerships really, really helps. So thank you for that question, Limitless. The next question is from Philip Arezina. We have, what is the definition of stage 1 through 3 tunes? So that's a good question. So there's a handful of different answers for that one, actually, because you have, for example, a transmission tune, which will, tune your transmission to shift faster, right? I wouldn't know much about that since I've only owned manual cars. But essentially just the regular stage 1 tune. 1, 2, 3 is, I would say, the aggressiveness of the tune. The higher you go, the more built your vehicle will have to be, with a lot of goodies. But it's essentially a remap of the main brain of your computer. It's telling your brain to work harder in certain areas. And it's usually the turbo system. So, if your turbo's pushing 7 PSI after stage 1, you might be pushing 11 or 12 PSI. And that's just a, random example. But, boost is essentially the easiest way to describe it. So great question, Phil. Next we have Stefan Powling. What car has the best looking front end combined with the worst looking rear end? I had to really, really think about this, and I can only think modern. I'm honestly thinking the new M2 CS, or just the 2 Series in general. The front end is a work of art. It is gorgeous, especially the CS. But the rear end, it's just around the trunk, the taillights, it's just very, very blasé. I don't know how else to describe it, but I'm not shooting down the car. I mean, I had a 1 Series, for crying out loud, and that's the kind of love only a mother could give. But that for me would be the 2 Series. I would actually be curious to see what others think. What car has the best looking front end combined with the worst looking rear end? Because I'm stumped with that one. That only the 2 Series comes to mind. because it still has to be good looking in some shape or form, but not really. So that's good. IPOP07, what's a place or road you dream to go driving someday? The Nurburgring, number one. I always want to drive on the Spa racetrack, and I've also wanted to do like a road trip, like an automotive road trip / rally type of thing, but with friends. I'd be open to doing it with people I've never met before, but yeah, that would be my kind of go-to. Just because it would be, I mean, the Nurburgring, it's the proving grounds for cars worldwide. So, going on the Nurburgring and experiencing, McLaren fly by you doing God knows how fast, that would be amazing. And to go through a few turns on Spa, just full throttle all the way, obviously terrifying, but you would build some courage leading up to that. So thank you, IPOP07. Mickey 20. When did you first start liking cars? So for me, that's a good question. That would be, I think, just like everyone, right? At a younger age, but there's a story behind it all. And I can't remember if it was in Florida, because our family used to go to Florida relatively frequently down in Sarasota, and our dad would take us to it was like a third-party luxury store or a dealership. He'd carry like Dodge Vipers, Ferraris. It was pretty cool. And I remember like peeking in the glass, like, oh, Dad, this one does 330. Could it? Who knows? Going 330 in a Dodge Viper ACR back then would be terrifying. But there's that. And we used to live, if you have Google Maps, look up Ontario, Driftwood Crescent. So those in Kitchener. I used to live on that road, and there was a gentleman there that had a black Lamborghini Countach, and seeing that spaceship on wheels drive by was a real treat. So that was really interesting, just because the car didn't fit the neighborhood, but it was pretty cool. And my brother scratched it. But that's a story for another day. So thank you, Stefan Powling. So next we have Theodor Murgovsky. What do car dealerships do with last year's models they haven't sold? Very, very good. So essentially what they would do is everyone works for some sort of head office. So everyone has an HQ to report to. So all dealerships will have one to report to, which are usually in Toronto for Canada, or in the GTA. So when you look at head office would give you monthly programs as to what each car or what each vehicle would qualify for that particular month. So it's been, call it a year and a half. Typically what the dealership would do is they would write it down using the money that that head office has given them to write the vehicle down and turn it into a pre-owned vehicle. And sometimes dealerships, believe it or not, lose money when they turn a vehicle into a pre-owned vehicle. So it's pretty interesting when you hear, a dealership losing money, because that does happen. And I'm not saying that it's a frequent type of thing. I'm saying like the models that may not sell the best. So for example, like an SL63, right? It's a hard sell, but there's not a lot of them out there, right? Because a lot of customers, for example, I know a lot of customers that'll only do black on black. But if there's a perfect color combination and it's not a black, whether it's interior or exterior, they won't take it. So, for the most part, dealers would mark it down as a demo and then use the markdown money to kind of like balance it out. Maybe make a few dollars here and there, because after all, it is a business, right? And yeah, that's essentially what they do. They won't wholesale it. It's very rare, or they sometimes might dealer trade it, because other stores might have a customer for that exact car with that exact option and color combination and so on and so forth. So that's a good question. So thank you, Theodor. We have from Mr. Merck. How long are you keeping your S2000 stock? So don't know. I kind of pride myself on the fact that it's stock, and I kind of pride myself on the fact that it's, unmolested and whatnot. But I'm thinking if I can revert everything back to stock as if nothing was ever touched, I would love to, but it's very hard to do that because around the wheel well, there's like a rubberish plastic that is very, very hard to find on a stock S2000 or on any S2000, because as soon as you lower it, you have to take that off because it rubs and it gives you an extra bit of kind of clearing around the wheel well. So a lot of guys tend to take it off, but once you take it off, those clips break and you can't put it back on. So that's one kind of giveaway of this car's been modified. You can't trick me. But if I were to do anything, first I'd do tires because it has eagles on it and I'm not a fan of them. Probably going to put some comfy, Pilot Super Sports on. Then exhaust, and I already know which one. Headers, I don't know if the smell would bother me because I typically drive the car with the roof down. So if I do headers, it's going to be a little stinky on the inside. So if anybody has experience with headers with a convertible, let me know. Other than that, springs. Last thing would be wheels. Actually, no, wheels, but I would also love this. I'll ask you guys because this is very, very personal preference. I'm still torn, but I would not mind finding another yellow trunk where I can take off the stock one because I don't want to drill holes in it and put a Voltex wing on it because it actually is functional. So let me know what you guys think about that. But it already has a front lip from OEM. Same thing with the rear diffuser. Rear trunk fin. So that's all from factory. And then wheels would be last pretty much. Probably some like T37s or Regamaster Evos or SSRs, something along those lines. So I've been toying with it. But if I don't do anything, I'm definitely doing the tires. 100% going to change the tires out and kind of maybe call it a day. But I would like to get a little bit of, noise out of it. So thank you, Mr. Merck, for that question. Next, would you ever consider podcasting out of the office, like at events or track days, says Break Late. Definitely, since, we're all in lockdown and I would love to do anything but stay indoors. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all, right? I wouldn't mind being at a GT3 Cup, racetrack and at Moss Sport and, kind of have some fun while the cars go round and round the track. I would love to do that. Or even just at an event, like at an automotive event. That would be pretty cool. And last but not least, the Romeo Giorgio. What is the most fulfilling thing about being in the auto sales industry? Would you recommend it? Oh, that's a good one for last too. I think it's a two-part question. So essentially the way I would answer it is, in the other week we had Ged on the show, and we talked about two different types of sales guys. The first one, again, just like he reiterated, I will as well. There's nothing wrong with either, because the first one would be the textbook, the definition of a salesman, right? Comes to work to sell, hits his quotas, hits his numbers, his PVA and so on and so forth. Puts a roof over his head, dinner on the table, blah, 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 blah. But then you have the guys that will wake up in the morning, will go into work a little earlier just to be around the car, just to be a part of something special, whether it's a BMW, whether it's a Honda, Toyota, doesn't matter. But if you find your passion and if you enjoy the brands that you're around, I find that it's easier to sell. And that's where I come in, right? It's hard for me to mix both. You have to either choose one or the other, I find. But it's very, very rewarding. Just because you can, with a lot of customers, you can turn those customers into friends. And when you turn those customers into friends, you skip the whole, because you're a professional and you have to find out exactly what the customer is looking for to make sure that you're putting them in the right car to make sure that you're doing all the right steps, because it's on you if you don't. Now, imagine knowing somebody so well that they just ask you, hey, what should I get? Either this or this. It just makes things a lot more easier when they trust you. And that's the thing, is the stereotypical, I have my guard up when I come into a store. So if you can earn their trust and not abuse it, then I think that is some of the most promising results you'll ever have going into automotive, right? Because that way you're just selling to friends, you're just selling to customers, you're having fun, you're having a good time, but you're still working, right? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Read that somewhere years ago and it kind of stuck with me. So, yeah. And that would probably be it. So this will conclude our session for today. So this is the very first Q&A for Things That Move Us. And thanks for joining. And guys, it's very hard to, spread the word, right? I'm trying to, what my goal is to, connect the KW region and then hopefully branch out into the GTA, Oakville, Barrie, London type of thing, and then branch out from there to Ontario and then all across Canada. But if you guys have friends and they're into cars, share my page. They might find something. I know I don't touch on certain genres, which I will be. But there's something here for everyone, guys. So I appreciate everyone that has supported me from day one. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm going to try and do some more of these if you guys want. And drop me a comment on what you liked, what you disliked, or even shoot me a DM through Instagram at ttmu.mp4. And that's it, guys. Again, my name's Nico for Things That Move Us. Like, subscribe, and all that fun jazz. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. So take care, guys. Thanks for joining. Ciao.